It is Sunday. Almost said Monday again. It is my second Sunday streaming. And to all of you guys watching, welcome to the LB0 Fox India YouTube channel. I'm Morton, LB0 Fox India, and this is Sunday Live, which is kind of a spin-off of my Digimode Monday series, where I try to look into different subjects, ham radio related. And as you probably noticed last Sunday, I started talking about operating mobile since I have less and less time for operating from home at the moment, and I've started looking into that a little bit. And part of operating mobile is having a computer that works, that is compact enough and easy enough to use, to be able to use in the car if you should decide to do digimodes or any kind of login or anything that is would make your life a little bit easier. So, and I see we have some of the regulars in the chat. We have Andy's in the chat. Hi, Andy. Welcome. I sometimes wonder when you sleep because I see you in all the streams, no matter what time of day. So, welcome, Andy. We have LB4FH, Kjetil here, the new soda YouTuber. Check out his videos. I think I say that in pretty much every stream. And we have Carl here, which he's in a hotel trying to charge his laptop. So that might be that might be relevant, really relevant actually, because that's a little bit of what I'll be looking into. So and I don't really expect too many people watching live today since I changed the stream time, and this is only the second Sunday I'm streaming live. So let's see what happens. And Bert's here. Welcome, Bert. We'll have a look at my slideshow soon, so you're not late by any means. And for all of you people who think you're late, you can always watch this in replay. So I have three contenders for portable and mobile operations. Actually, and this project is, as I talked about last Sunday, utilizing things that I already have. Um, I got a Microsoft Surface Go 2, which I acquired used this week, uh, which is let me just change the camera here a little bit so everything's within my green screen. I got a Surface Go 2, which is compact and nice to use. So that'll be one of the contenders. I have a Raspberry Pi 3, and I have the Linux laptop, which is featured in a lot of my videos. So those are the three computer platforms I'll be looking at and try to find some pros and cons for every platform. And there are pros and cons. I don't think you can find the ideal portable mobile laptop or Pi or computer. Just to sum it all up, there are some pros and cons to every platform, and it just it kind of boils down to what kind of compromises you're willing to do. So let's hop on to the next slide here. The Microsoft Surface Go 2. I got that used earlier this week. I haven't really looked too much into it. I've tried it a little bit. I've upgraded it to Windows 11, and I've actually just played a little bit around with it. And I got a little bit of a list here with pros and cons. And it is compact. It's a 10-inch tablet with the keyboard accessory if you should choose to buy that. So it's relatively inexpensive if you can find one because the Go 3 is the current generation, and that's about twice the price. I see that some stores in Norway still carry the Go 2, but that's probably until they're out of stock, and I would guess it's like that wherever you are as well. It runs Windows, which you can see as on both sides of the table here, both a pro and a con. um, if you're used to using Windows, it's absolutely a pro, uh, but it requires updates. It requires some maintenance. So it is it is a pro and con that it runs Windows. And because it runs Windows, it's relatively easy to set up with all your ham radio equipment. It's got a long battery life, at least as far as I've tested it. I managed to get about 10 hours out of it. And it's got a touch screen, which lets you, for Poda or Soda, use it without a keyboard, should you decide to do that. Kjetil here says that the Go 3 is the current go-to model, and it is, except it's about twice as expensive. And it's probably a little bit faster, but not by much. Bird says, good, cheap, and light, pick two. Yeah, you probably can only pick two of those. Except maybe that US laptop, the Evolve 3, which I've heard is really slow as well. Carl says he likes Linux, but also use WinLink, which is kind of like to run on. Yeah, WinLink is a lot better on Windows, but it's possible to run it in Linux as well. And it is, but you can't use stuff like Vara for Linux. Sheta says the Go 3 is horribly noisy on the USB port. I tried the Surface Go 2 today with FT8, and yeah, works fine. No noticeable noise on my part there. There is only one USB port though, and it's a USB-C port, so you would need a USB hub. It does not charge by itself on 12 volts unless you get an adapter. So that's kind of the pro and cons for that platform. Either if you choose a Go 2 or Go 3 or a Surface Pro or whatever, the Surface Pro will not be relatively inexpensive though. Bert asked if I can recommend Windows 11, and yes, I can. I switched once it was released, and I haven't noticed any. I've noticed a couple of bugs, but it's starting to get stable, and use that on all my computers that are able to run Windows 11. And it seems like the Go 3 as nice. It gives at least 2 or 3 S grades in noise when it's plugged in. Depends a lot on screen brightness. Full brightness is best. Yeah, I haven't really looked that far into it. So that's one of the contenders. The next one is the Raspberry Pi 3, or if you should be lucky enough to have a 4, that's probably an even better contender. This is one of my Pi 3s, which is currently behind the desk in my shack running my ham clock. It's just an illustration picture, though. And the Pi is, for most purposes, an excellent platform. It is small. It runs on USB power, although it requires a little bit more than 5 volts. About 5.1, 5.2 volts to run stable. Runs Linux, a lot of different distros, if you should choose so. And for ham radio use, it's not relatively easy. It's really easy to set up with KM4 ACK's Build a Pi script. You just run the script, enter a little bit of personal information, and boom, 18 hours later, you're up and running. Once you've turned off a couple of functions like the Pi going to sleep and such. And there are a lot more cons though. My first experiment with a portable ham radio computer was the Pi 3. And first of all, it has no built-in battery, which and I see Bert comments here. 18 hours later. Yeah, 18 hours later, you're up and running. It depending on your internet connections and all that. But for me, it took about 18 hours. There's a lot of compiling going on when you run the script. Uh, it has no built-in battery, which makes you rely on either a power bank um, or powering from your ham radio battery with a buck converter, which might or might not be noisy. Uh, so that's the first issue. It has no built-in keyboard or screen, so you got a couple of options there. You can either bring a keyboard and a screen, or you can run it with VNC, with a tablet or a phone or anything. But it's not an optimal user experience. Uh, it is it is a compromise on the user experience. It has no internal clock, so it requires you to use either a GPS or internet for accurate time. Probably not a good solution there. As you can probably notice, it needs a lot of accessories to work in a portable setting, and a lot of cables, which makes it for a clumsy and uh, cumbersome setup in the field. And as a con, also it runs Linux. If you haven't run Linux before, it can be a steep learning curve for learning Linux. And Cheto comments that the Surface Go doesn't have an accurate clock either. No, it probably doesn't, but it's got a screen and a keyboard, which makes it easier to hook up to shared Wi-Fi from your phone. And at least it gives you the the time to some degree of accuracy, maybe not FD8 accuracy, but at least a little bit of accuracy. And you could fit a GPS to the Surface as well. It's just that it's got a clock there, so that helps a little bit. Carl says that there are cheap and easy RTC clocks for the Pi, and yes, there is. Then you're back to the cost and cumbersome element, though. You will need so many elements that you need to put together in the field, and it's doomed to fail at some point. I have never been able to run a Pi successfully in the field, and it's not for lack of trying. In the shack, though, they're excellent computers. As long as you have a stable internet connection, they're fantastic and easy to use as long as you know Linux. So so the Pi is probably not a contender for my part for portable ops. Uh, and I really wish it was. Another factor is that Pis nowadays are kind of unobtainium. They're hard to find and they're expensive. And I've been looking into these other single board computers though, to see if any of those would work for ham radio. But then you're back to the fact that the KM4 ACK script is easy, real easy to use. So so at the moment, a Pi or any other single board computer is probably out of the question. Might be a solution in the car though. Could share Wi-Fi from my cell phone or a hotspot and get it up and running that way, and just tuck it away somewhere. I still would need some way to either get a VNC connection or a physical screen and keyboard. But in the car, it might be an option. In the shack, it is an option. For portable soda poto use, it is in my view not an option. And I know a lot of you disagree with me there. And I know a lot of other YouTubers also disagree with me and says it's a perfectly well suited computer for portable work. It's just I simply don't agree when you look at the list of the cons. And thirdly, you have an old laptop running Linux, and I've done that. Um, I got a couple of videos on that, and pro is you're recycling old hardware. You don't need to buy anything new, which is a good thing. Just one comment here. I see Shadow says that he's run a pie from a soda once, never again. Yeah, I've been there. I've tried it, and it is just not easy enough. So I wouldn't do that again either. But I got them in a shack, and they're excellent computers. I use them for my 3D printer. I use them for my Pi clock. I use them for my hotspots. I've been thinking about setting up a YSF room on a Pi at home. Not that I really need to do that, but just for as ham radio is for the experiment factor of it. So that is one of the things I've been thinking about using Pis for, but not portable. Uh, and Cheto says he's been using Pi since the first release. Yeah, I got a Pi 1 here that I'm trying to find a use for. Uh, and Bert says you could use them with a flight case and integrated screen. Would take a lot of preparation, and it wouldn't be cheap anymore, and it'd be heavy. Anything, and I work at a concert stage. Anything in a flight case is heavy. Anything in a pellet case is heavy. The cases themselves are built for durability and not weight. I've tried going that route as well. I tried to put my entire shack in flight cases once, so it'd be easy when I went out camping. Took that on a camping trip once, and I've sold the flight cases since. So flight cases has their use, but not for portable ham radio. And even a pellet case or a cheap pellet case copy, they're heavy if you're going to put them in a backpack and use them. And you're at a point where the usability and the practicality of it, and not to mention the easy build of it would be a lot easier. So no, I cannot recommend the Pi, uh, not even in a flight case for that use. But back to the recycling old laptop and using Linux. You get the full package with a keyboard, screen, and generally all you need, depending on the laptop. Though it runs Linux, both a pro and a con, depending on what your use case is. I tend to view operating systems as tools. Whichever tool gets the job done. I was a Linux on a desktop user for many years, but for me at this time, Windows offers greater experience and a greater usability case on the desktop for me. And it is relatively easy to set up for ham radio with distros like Andy's Ham Radio Linux. A great distro. I've done a couple of videos on that. Can recommend that wholeheartedly. The setup process is a little bit cumbersome when it comes to generating a user. If you've never used Linux before and you don't know how to troubleshoot Linux, if you should run into any problems with it, just send me an email. I'll help you along. The cons, though, it can be slow depending on how old the hardware is. Maybe you got a 32-bit laptop, then you're kind of stuck on an older distro. It doesn't do 12 volts, but none of these options do. It depends what kind of laptop you got, though. Some laptops run on 12 volts, but most laptops don't. And it's heavier than the other distros. And I see Shadow's got a comment here. It's not up in my There you go. In my StreamYard window, there you go. There's only one Linux distro, Slackware. And we're not going to do any distro wars here, though. I've never used Slackware myself. I used to be a hardcore Debian user, but then Ubuntu came along and didn't need to be a hardcore user anymore. Bird asked what laptop I'm currently using. I'm using an old HP laptop. Don't really know the model number. Let me just hop one slide back. It's this laptop. Let's see. Just hang on, guys. I got it right here. So let's see here. Let's see. It is. Let's see what it says. It is la la la. Okay, the model numbers. There it is. It's HP 14 BP081NO. Not as easy on naming the models as, for instance, Apple is. But it is a 14-inch laptop. It's got an i5, I think, 8 gigs of RAM, full HD screen. Generally, what you need for a laptop. So it's a relatively new laptop. It runs well. It's got some fan issues that I haven't really looked into. Not really sure if I will. Fan's a little bit noisy, but not noisy enough for me to open up the laptop and replacing it. And at the time winner from my use case, just to get there, is the Surface Go 2. It is not fast, but it's small. It's an almost a laptop. I'm saying almost a laptop because it's a little bit slow. It requires a relatively expensive keyboard add-on to be able to use it full on as a laptop. But it's small, it's lightweight, and it's easy to use. Although you need a USB hub, which I've kind of hacked together. I had a USB. I had a micro USB to USB-A adapter. So on one end, I got a micro USB to USB-C adapter on it, and on the other end, I've plugged in a USB hub. So there's kind of a chain of adapters there, but it works. And I'll be doing some tests on that further on, and just seeing how good it is for portable ham radio use. But I think I'll be sticking with that for a little bit anyway. And on to my second topic of the day, continuing on from last week. And I haven't been able to do any testing here. I've set up my 2-meter rig in the car. I've been able to program that. Started filming that, but I got so frustrated with the Chinese software that it didn't make out for a good video. But that's not up and running because the cable shield on the coax is just after 2 years of being slammed in the hatch of the car. It is broken. Kind of explains my high SWR issue. So I'll see if it's fixable. It is a relatively expensive diamond antenna, so I'll see if there's some way of replacing the cable there. Not really sure if there is. If not, I'll probably go for a cheap eBay antenna with a mag mount for the car, which I can throw away when it's broken. Sheto says he tried a USB directly between the Surface and the Zygood 6100, and it didn't work. And that's kind of my experience with a lot of USB-C things, that you might need that one adapter, that one USB hub in just to be able to make things work. And not all adapters are created equal. Andy says you can run Linux on the Surface Go 2. I know that, Andy. And I've been thinking about it. But the last time I ventured into Linux on a non-standard laptop, I managed to brick it. It was an Asus Surface clone that I had. Tried to install Linux on that, and I bricked it. So I'm not going to do that on the Surface. And Don's Locks in the house. He's got a Surface Pro 4, and that takes 12 volts directly. And that's a good thing. The Go does not do that, but there are cigarette lighter adapters for it, probably with some kind of noisy converter inside. So you could hack something together with that. I've been thinking about that, just getting a cheap Chinese cigarette lighter adapter and see what I can do with it, and see how I could manage to convert it. They're about $6-7 on eBay, so they're not too expensive. Might be a fire hazard, as most electronics from eBay are. But then again, us hams at least know a little bit about electronics, so we can at least identify the problem either before or after it's started burning. Hopefully before. The Go 3 can also do 12 volts over USB-C to charge. Yeah, I think the Go 2 can do that as well. I looked into that today when I misplaced my charger and couldn't find it. But you use your USB port, and that kind of, well, if you're out on a multi-day camping trip, you can't use your laptop when you charge it. So when it's got a separate charge port, I'd kind of like to keep that for charging, and use the USB port for data use. So I'll be testing that and testing the options and the possibilities with that tablet. A lot coming on, and on to what I talked about last week, though, antenna testing. So 2-meter is not up and running at the moment. I'll try either to fix the antenna. I got a couple of days off now, so I'll look into that and see if the antenna is fixable, and if it's possible just to excuse me, if it's possible just to replace the cable. And if it's not, I'll go for cheap Chinese mag mount. But I've established a set of test methods for the testing of the antennas. And number one, I'll be using the same location every time. And my first thought was to use one of the local POTA parks, which is drivable, which would give me some POTA points and also let me test it. Went out there today, had some SWR issues, didn't bring any test equipment. So I've changed that location to my driveway at home. So if anything doesn't work, I can just run in and get whatever I need to fix the issue. I'll be using FD8, and that's simply because it gives you the ability to have some QSOs or a certain number of QSOs within a short time span. And it's easy to see where you're spotted with using PSK Reporter. Although for operating, I'll probably be using sideband, but for testing, FD8 is a lot better. I could be using Whisper, but then I wouldn't get any QSOs. So I've set the methodology here for FD8. I'll be on 20 meters, and that's simply because that's the common denominator between all my mobile antennas. All my mobile antennas can run 20. So I'll be, it'll give me some kind of compare some way of comparing them. So that. And I see that Kjetil here says he's hearing a VK station. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Maybe that's Don's lock that he's hearing there. You can do JS8 call as well, and yes, you could do JS8 call, but my luck on JS8 call is not that consistent. So I'll be using FT8 just to have a consistent test set to compare the antennas. And I will be trying to do it at relatively the same time of day, although that might be hard to do. So that's not one of my written criteria. I will be using it with the QDX and a 50-watt amplifier, pushing about 30 watts out. And that's just to be able to get those QSOs in a relatively short period of time. I'll be using the same mount and the same coax every time. Skip one. Got a little bit of sore throat. I'll be using a separate battery. I'm not going to power it from the car battery since I'm using the amplifier. Same mount and same coax every time. And my first video is coming in 29 minutes on my YouTube channel on that. So I don't know if any of you guys in the chat would like to guess what my first antenna is. And I'm not going to comment if it's correct or not. You'll have to wait until 7 o'clock European time to see that in 28 minutes. So those are my prepared slides for today and what I thought I'd be talking about. And I'll be going with the Surface at the moment just because it's compact. So and Carl says I'm using a resonant car bumper. Those aren't made of metal anymore. Those are not made of metal. They are made of plastic. So that won't work. And it says 20 meter ED. I don't know what ED is, but it is a 20 meter antenna. A 20 meter NFED. No, it's not. It's a mobile antenna. It is a mobile antenna since this is just to figure out how to operate mobile. So, well, I guess you could say it's NFED. It's at some point, at least electrically, half-wave 20 meter antenna. But well, I can say it. I'm using a ham stick. That's my first antenna out. And I also have the I talked about the little Tar Heel antenna for portable use. I'm not sure if I'm going to test that again. I got 2 videos out already where I test that antenna. So I got somewhat of a test set, not the same test set, but I got somewhat of a test set on that antenna. So we'll look at that. And I guess it's 3 a.m. and in Australia, they started daylight saving time. We're about to end daylight saving there, Don. So opposite seasons. So 7-3 and good night there, Don. My next antenna out will probably be the MFJ 1979, and that the strange antenna that I got from another ham that I don't remember what it was called, but Kjetil LB4FH had somewhat of the same antenna. I'll be testing that and do some comparison. My gut feeling tells me that the ham stick and the 1979 will be the best antennas. The 1979, since it'll be a full quarter wave, will probably be a little bit better. But it's 5 meters tall when it's tuned for 20. That is a lot of length on top of your car. So yeah, I'm not really sure if that'll be a winner or not for most operating. So I'll be doing that going ahead on the channel. I had a plan on experimenting with the APRS droid and a cable. I've tried. I can't get that to work and work consistently. So I'll be concentrating on the mobile setups for a while and the Surface Go in my videos until I get squirreled along and something else shows up. And Shittel's got a point here. 5 meters not good for parking your car in the city, at least. No, it's not. But no mobile antennas are. There are compromises any way you go. If you're not an American with big pickup truck and can somewhat fit the full-size 80-meter dipole on your truck. For us in other parts of the world, we are stuck with smaller cars and smaller antennas. So I'm just going to try to find the cross between the optimal antenna and the most practical antenna for mobile use. And don't really know what that'll be. Shadow says that mobile antennas are great for avoiding to have to drive on the lower deck while going on ferries. Yeah, they are. So there are some differences between operating mobile and portable, though. So we'll see where we end up on that. But that's pretty much all I had for tonight. I haven't set a topic for next week yet. So I guess I'll get an idea sometime next Saturday. And next week might not be, and it's probably not going to be on Sunday because I got to drive to the airport and pick my daughter up at about the same time as the stream is. So it'll either be on Saturday or Monday. And I'll be guessing Saturday will be good. I'll be hitting the just after Coffee and Ham Radio spot, which probably will be good. So we'll take a look into that. Just remember to subscribe to my channel, and you'll get notified when the stream is published. And if you're not subscribed, I really appreciate you subscribing. And just a quick way, I forgot this banner today. If you want to support the channel financially, check out the link down below. buymeacoffee.com, LB0 Fox India. It's not much, it's not a lot, but it is expensive to run this channel. So I appreciate every little bit of help I can get. So that's about it for today. Gonna say 7-3 and see you again next time. And please do watch out for my other mobile antenna videos. 7-3.